Hello and welcome back to Cash Budget Insights, where I'm working on seeing if this whole cash budgeting thing really works. I'm personally working on tracking every dollar using a zero-based budget due to my daughter's chronic illness, as well as controlling some of that emotional impulse spending on those really hard days. As always, I would love for you to give this video a thumbs up and be sure to hit that red subscribe button. That's a free way to throw a little support my way and help this channel grow. If you haven't heard it today, I want you to know you're awesome, valuable, and have a purpose. Now let's dive in. So today we're going to be looking at my January budget setup, kind of how I use my printables that I've created to make this whole cash budgeting system thing make sense and work for me. I love this binder. So I was really tempted to go down to an A5, which is, quite a bit smaller. My problem with that is the maintenance that it would take me. I would either need to buy A5 paper, which I really didn't want to do so that I could print on it, or I would need to use my normal printer paper and then cut it down. And I realized, as cute as an A5 binder is, and it's a little bit smaller and more compact, it was just too much maintenance to deal with. So I stuck with a 8.5 by 11 printer paper, and this is called a Mead 5-star 3-ring binder. What I love about this binder is that it can fold back on itself. So it just makes it a little bit easier when you're working not to have like a huge hard 3-ring binder. So it's very flexible. And I also like the fact that what I don't like about budget books is I feel like you're locked in. So if I ever make a mistake, I can just reprint a page and like pop it back in and, refill out my worksheets if I need to. But this is a really cool binder. I'll try to have it linked down below so you guys can like see how much it is. I got mine on Amazon. I think it was like, I want to say like $9, but I could be off on that. But I really like it. I've used these before in my homeschool and I just really like them. Okay, so let's dive into what I'm doing for January. So for January, the first thing I did is I have here my month at a glance. So for my month at a glance, I start on a Monday. I've talked about that before. Basically, I put all of my bills that come out digitally on here so I can kind of see each week what is coming out of our checking account. The other thing I put on here, which I actually didn't because I don't know, I just didn't fill this out, is birthdays. So I do have a birthday coming up for the 29th of January. So in addition to bills, I'm also wanting to keep an eye out for events or, maybe sports or activities that my kids have, things that are going to draw from our finances. Down here at the bottom, I did do a monthly goals section just where I could write down a quick note of things that I want to focus on. So for me, after coming off of December, oh my goodness, so much online spending, and I was so bogged down and confused trying to reconcile these online purchases. The system that I have works, but when it's inundated with too many online purchases, it just becomes, it's too much. So my goal is to, and I'll show you these in a second, my online transaction page, I would love to just do one page of transactions online. I think in December I did almost 3 and it was way too much, but it was December. We're just getting started. Like I'm still figuring this whole thing out. So, I'm not too upset about that. I just know it was a lot of work and I don't want to do that again in January. And then I don't have anything written here, but this is just at the end of the month. You can come back and review anything that you'd like to do differently or change or, things you want to jot down. That's what I have down there. So that is my monthly overview for January. Okay, after that, I have my Money Map page. So I'm sure you guys have seen these. It's called a lot of different things. I just created something that was going to work for me. So at the top here, you're going to have your income and you'll total that up. Then you have your fixed expenses. So for us, these are different bills that come out every single month of our checking account. You're going to total that up and you're going to subtract it from your income and see what you have left over. So my next priority is my groceries, my gas, fun, miscellaneous, household, kids, and out to eat. So I've designated monthly amounts for all of these. And then for me, I personally don't want to deal with $1,000 of grocery money for the whole month. So I have a column here that says weekly. So I break this into a weekly amount that I pull out from the bank. This is a really good beginner strategy, in my opinion, so that you're not entrusted with your whole month, but you kind of have that cash in like small doses week to week. It's a lot easier to manage and you're in and out of your envelopes a lot more, which is kind of giving you a good idea of where everything is, where each of these categories are each week versus only once a month. So after I total those up, I see what I have left over. And then I move into what I call future planning. So future planning for me are things that I don't necessarily spend every week, like these things down here. These are things I know that they're coming up, or I know that I need to constantly, kind of be saving for them because big purchases could come out of these categories in the next few weeks or months. So for us, that is self-care clothing, home goods, medical pharmacy, car maintenance, our dogs, subscription groomer, dental vision, car insurance, our car tags, homeschool outdoor, and hair care for my kids. So just like my flexible spending, I go ahead and break these down into weekly amounts as well. Lastly, I have what I call savings. These are really just holidays. So I have birthday, Christmas, and then I just have all of my other 8 generic holidays like New Year's, Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving. They all get $5. So that's just a total of 40. Because I am choosing to, even though we only get paid once a month, I'm choosing to get into my cash envelopes every week. I have numbers up here where these different categories pertain to cash, so that each week when I fill my envelope, I will color in one of these circles. I typically only do 4 weeks, but I know that sometimes there are 5 weeks. For me, it really doesn't matter because I still, even if there are 5 weeks, I still only am dealing with a monthly, 1 monthly income. I know if you were paid weekly, that would be a little bit different. But for me, I typically only stuff 4 times a month, and I just have to make that work regardless of the number of weeks in that month. Now, I also have a credit card section up here. I'm a huge advocate of not being in debt, absolutely, but also I think credit cards are a great way to make really small purchases during the month and to pay them off and build up your credit. This is a great way to build up your credit if you have the self-control to track it and pay it off every month. This is something we do. So for me, all that I really want to look at is when my credit card needs to be paid off. So I typically just put the due date in here at the top. So I know that I need to pay down my credit card so that it only has a really small balance on it. So the credit card system, they want you to be using your credit and also paying it off. You don't want to use more than about 10% of what you've been allocated to use. It's not good to carry a huge balance on your credit card. You want to carry a low balance and you want to be paying it off every single month. So you want to show that you're using it and that you're trustworthy to pay that amount off every month. I always look at it, if I were to loan money to a friend, I want to know that they're not going to need more money than they live outside of their means, which is kind of what the credit card system is doing. And I want to know that they're going to be faithful to pay that money back to me, which is also what credit cards, companies are looking for. So keeping that in mind, using credit cards in a healthy way can show that you're a reliable person that they can invest in, which down the road makes getting loans or buying a home or getting a car that much easier. Okay, so that takes care of Money Map, and I'm definitely not a financial expert. That's just something I've learned along the way. I didn't always know that, and now that I do, we've been able to get our credit scores way up by using credit cards, for our advantage, not being taken advantage of. All right, so the next sheet I have is an expense tracker. So this is just a simple expense tracker. I have the date, a description, the category that expense falls into, if it was a purchase or if it was income. And then I always have a running balance of whatever account I'm working with. So when you're dealing with cash, I still track all of my cash purchases here. That gives me a running list of everything I've spent money on, because when you are spending cash, it can be easy to be like, where did that money go? This is why you write it down on your expense tracker. Now, if I was tracking this for, let's say, our checking account, I have a column over here that tells me that I need to, let's say I spent a category like groceries that's supposed to come from cash, but I put it on a credit card. If I need to, I have a column here that tells me that I need to move this transaction to my online purchases form. So let me show you what that looks like. So this is my online spending form. It looks very similar to the expense tracker. For this one, I jot down the date, the account that I made that purchase from, because that's where I need to get my cash back to, a description of what I purchased, the category. So if it's groceries, I would write groceries. And then I would write down the exact amount to the cent here. And then I either round up or down, usually up, that needs to go back to the bank. once I have deposited this money back to the bank, I then check it off. So I know my cash envelopes have reimbursed that online spending transaction. That is how I am tracking online purchases. The only other thing that I have here is my cash planning worksheet. So every week that I get cash from the bank, I fill out this worksheet. Now, I do have small amounts here that I've written. These are kind of like my baseline denominations that I want to put into these categories every week, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes I put more, sometimes I put less, just depending on how other spending or categories have gone throughout the weeks or month. So for this one, I look in my envelopes, I look at what I currently have in that category to see some of these sinking funds, they may be fully funded, so I don't need to continue giving to them, and I can bulk up other areas of our budget, or hopefully down the road, put something in savings. That would be wonderful. So for our amount, I jot those in, and then I decide what denomination I want to get back from the bank. That's how this one works. And this is all about getting the right dollars or denominations to stuff my envelopes. And I fill this out every single week. So those are all of the forms that I have and that I print to really start my January budget setup. So I am still going to have to come into these worksheets, and I'm actually going to have to figure out what I want to do for these weekly amounts. So I still need to do that. And then I'm also going to need to fill out that first cash planning. The first time that I will actually stuff my envelopes will be on Saturday the 6th. So on Friday the 5th. So up until Friday the 5th, I'm still living off of December money. And that's just because I choose to only cash stuff on Fridays. Now, I may change that down the road, but that's just what I've been doing to start off. So on Friday, I will cash stuff my envelopes, and by Friday, I need to have gone through my budget, filled out the weekly amounts for my cash, as well as filled out my cash planning worksheet so I can go to the bank and get the denominations that I need. The other thing that I do to set up a new month is I print out new expense trackers. So what I do for these ones is I've just made these in Canva, and basically I'm going to take whatever is still remaining and in the envelope. So for fun, if I still have $20, I'll start the balance off at 20. And what I like to do is remove all of the old month trackers. And I like the idea of every month having a fresh tracker in my envelope. It just looks clean and it's a new start. So I like that. So that is what I have here. I have just printed those out. I didn't print them out for every envelope. I only printed them out for ones that I get in and out of or make a lot of transactions on. So for instance, like for the holiday binder that I have here, I don't have new trackers for these because they're hardly filled in. And these are really just like glorified savings accounts for these different categories. So I'm not spending a lot of money out of them, but obviously some of my categories, especially those in my wallet, for instance, fun and groceries, miscellaneous, those ones I am constantly getting in and out of, and I have like so many transactions. Sometimes it's on the back of the page for that month. So it's nice to have a new one printed out and ready to go. So that is a quick overview of how I, am approaching a new month of cash stuffing. I will be setting up these different categories, and the next time that I see you guys, I'll probably be doing a cash stuffing for January 5th. I keep wanting to put that Friday there. And you will be able to see what these weekly amounts are, and we will actually go through this cash planning worksheet together. So I will do that in a separate video in the next few days. So until then, I'll see you guys next time.